Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you might be in. I'll leave that up to your discretion. This is Bob Bennett. It's Bob Bennett Weekly Live, edition number 148, or as I think of it, upper room number 23. And I'm glad you're with me tonight. We always do this, it is 5:02 p.m. here on the People's Republic of California. It is Saturday, February 4th, if you're with us in real time. And I say us because we have a wonderful community of people that join me each week. We actually call them the comments community. Cutesy, I know, but it works. And then we have blessed lurkers, and we have welcome newcomers and lots of folks who join us. Or you may be catching a replay, but however you're joining, we're happy that you are here. So before I sing my first song, let me quickly check in and see who's coming through the digital doorway. Hey, John Lord, how you doing? From cold, like really cold, Montana. He and Phyllis are good friends of mine. Tim Clock, half of the famous Clock brothers, checking in from the Inland Empire, or Riverside for you locals. Hi, Noni Cashman, Noni and Ed. Helen! No kidding! Folks, if you've been around for a while, Helen Peterson checking back in. How you doing, sweetheart? If you don't mind, let me know how the new valve is doing. We're fellow aortic valve people. So let me know how you're doing. I haven't seen your name pop up for a while. So give us an update if you got a mind to share a little bit about that. We'd love to know what you're doing. Rick Negrady, Hampton, Virginia. One of my people who is my unofficial tech support from afar. And let's see. Did I miss Jim? Jim Portillo, hey, Aurelio Cortez. All right, I could be saying hi all night, and sometimes I do. We'll get back to that. I have a very special guest, which I will let on in just a little bit. This happened at the last second, and you're going to love this. I'm going to love this. It's going to be a festival of loving it. And but let me sing my first song first. And keep in mind, I've got a few songs from last week that I held on to from the comments. I try to review last week's comments every time. So I've got a few songs, but if there's anything you've just got to hear tonight, I'll try to get to it if we have time. So I was playing this before we started, and although it's perhaps in conventional performance terms, it's probably a little mellow for an opener, but I don't care. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning, our song shall rise to thee. Holy, 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 merciful and mighty, God in three persons, blessed Trinity. Holy, 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 all the saints adore thee, casting down their golden crowns around the glassy sea. Cherubim and seraphim falling down before thee, who was, who is, and evermore shall be. Holy, 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 though the darkness hide thee, though the eye of sinful man thy glory may not see, only thou art holy, there is none beside thee. Lord God Almighty. All thy works shall praise thy name in earth and sky and sea. Holy, 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 merciful and mighty, God in three persons, blessed Trinity. God in three persons, blessed Trinity. One of the classics of the faith. I mean, come on. You can certainly imagine that song being sung for an eternity. And so happy to bring it to you tonight. Well, let me quickly say hi to a couple more people, and then we'll say hi to a very special guest who is with me tonight in studio. This is my first time doing an in-studio thing. So we set it up real quick, and can you hear the sirens coming through? That's okay. That means that somebody's on their way to help somebody out. So we'll put up with siren noise all day long for that reason. Hey, Jim and Norma checking in from Lake Elsinore. The other half of the famous Clock brothers, Thomas, is in the house from Cambria. Clyde Adams from Alabama. How you doing? Karen Jill Moberly Hensley, also checking in from Virginia. Hey, Dustin, how you doing? Apparently your homily is mostly prepared, I'm hoping. And I don't want to take you away from stuff you have to be doing, but glad you're here. Ben Sense, how you doing? Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm actually headed to Austin next week. I love the great state of Texas, where the two major decisions that I have to make in any day are Tex-Mex or barbecue. And that's sort of the choice that I have. Let's see. Okay, New Valve. Okay, Helen. New valve is happy, doing great. Just past 6 months. I know my aftermarket valve is fabulous. I tell people I just need it to last one day longer than I do, and everything will be just fine. So that's what I'm after. Aurelio Cortez, how you doing? You know what? I can do that. Hold on just one second. Let me throw that up. And I will get to that, Aurelio, by having it here. One quick second. Let me adjust something since I'm on a different screen than I was before. Okay. All right, I have that for you, and I'll get to that in a minute. All righty. Well, tonight I'm very happy. I got a message on Facebook from Robert G. Lee. As you may know, Robert G. Lee is one of the funniest humans and a wonderful fellow, and I'm happy to say a friend. And he said, I've got a gig in Orange County tonight a little later. Are you up for a little company? And I said, absolutely. So he is here tonight. We set up a mic at the last minute and a camera at the last minute. So what it might lack in slick production value, it's going to happen in a total, we're making this up as we go, working without a net, you are there kind of a thing. So, Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Just as you were talking and obviously talking to people online, some people are doing the same with me. I got Paul McCartney. He's from Liverpool, and he just said, hope you're having a good time with Bob tonight. Some Jagger, M. Jagger, I'm not really sure who that is, but he was very excited about the show as well. And Adele is her, I don't know who
Adele, sure.
Yeah, Adele, and Bruno Mars, and so all of them are they're tuning in and very excited. They all loved Holy, 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 except for M. Jagger. He had something for sympathy for the
that's right.
But everybody else was very excited about it, and so yeah, this is great. I'm so glad that you were known everywhere.
Thank you.
And facetiousness aside, man, if you're not listening with headphones on, go put headphones on right now just to sit here, and I would just drift it away just listening to you play. Your voice is like butter. It's just butter. I just love it.
Oh, man. Well, listen, I have to say this because before we get, Do you know, have you ever actually looked at the lyrics to Sympathy for the Devil? It actually is a pretty right-on song.
It is.
Now, the title makes you shaky, and
Right.
as it might, but if you look at what he's singing and what it's uncannily kind of spooky, like good.
Yes, and I'll throw another one out there. Billy Idol's "Great Day for a White Wedding." I'm telling you, that's about the second coming of Christ. Go listen to those lyrics. It's a great day.
Really? I didn't know that.
I'm going to start again. It's a great day to start again. What a great day for a white wedding. And it's like somebody had a
check that
double
out.
meaning in that. So.
Well, now, where is the place that you're playing tonight? Where are you at?
There's a comedy club called Z Playhouse in Aliso Viejo down here in Orange County, and yeah, I set it up. I was in Texas last night at a church, and that was just so much fun. It was great. Got up about 3:30 in the morning and was on the plane, and that's when I saw your Facebook post. So yeah, it's just that,
very cool.
that's the gig. You go wherever, and tonight I'll hopefully make some people laugh, have some fun, and
I wish we had snacks. If I would have known you were coming, I would have had snacks.
I'm a little disappointed, but
I'm all about the snacks. I didn't get your rider, and I didn't know what to set out. So anyway, so let me ask you the absolutely Captain Obvious questions, but that are stuff that I don't know. Were you one of those classic kids where you realized at a certain point that the grown-ups thought you were funny, and you were kind of the undesignated class clown at school, or what? And that was kind of. Tell me a little bit about how you got interested in doing this, and was it at a young age?
It was definitely a young age, and most comedians do notice. And that's a question I ask most comedians: when did you know that your brain operated differently than other people? Now, my dad was funny, and I would always watch him hold court with when all the relatives came over. So it's like, okay, I want to be that. I saw Bill Cosby, and and this is absolutely true, and you're not allowed to say his name anymore.
Right.
But when I was 5, he did a comedy routine, and it was like that right there. That's what I want to be. And then my parents told me I could not be black, so I had to switch and do the comedy thing. But
Such a disappointment.
it was hard. But the honest truth is, so I knew I was funny and I knew I could make people laugh, but it was in 5th grade, and they showed a movie to us, and it was about a hunter who goes out in the woods with his dog, and he's going to shoot a deer, and then he has second thoughts because the little doe, baby deer comes out, and the hunter says, I can't kill the mother and the little doe, so he walks away. And the whole class is supposed to make an essay out of this. So I'm assuming it was put out by the People Against Guns, whatever it was. It was a propaganda piece, but everyone had to write an essay about
deer
what they
lobby.
saw. Yeah, exactly. Anti-venison crew was out there, but I wrote a comedy routine. And everybody else wrote a very serious essay, and it wasn't the fact that I made them laugh or that my teacher was crying. It was just a great performance. It was so much fun, but I left that day going, nobody else did a comedy routine. I don't think the way other people think.
Yeah.
And that was this big light bulb moment. And I'm sure you had the same thing with your music. It's like, music kind of speaks to me, and I can do it, and I just feel like I'm lifting up people when I do it. And with comedy, that was the moment when I realized I am not equipped or enabled like other people. And so then I just started pursuing it.
Now, I got a lot of, when I was a kid, and company would come over and say, Bobby, go get your guitar.
I'll bet, yeah.
So did you have any of that? Did your parents go, did your parents ever rope you into doing stuff? Or,
No, Billy Crystal's family would make him perform. If you ever saw
Right.
a show he did called 700 Sundays. But mine was more sneak in. You said class clown. Class clown is the guy who will do anything for a laugh. And that wasn't me. That's the guy who puts underwear in his head, says he's Wedgie Jackson, those kind of guys. It's like anything for a laugh.
That would have been me, because I think
There you
that's
go.
funny.
But I was the class wit, because I would wait for that opportunity, and I would just be thinking up jokes in my head, and if there was a silence, I would just boom, I would throw it in, and see if I can make the teacher laugh, the kids laugh, and all that. So, and I spent a great deal of time in the hall. But as far as my parents, my father tolerated it. My mother just would let me do whatever I wanted. So, but they didn't trot me out and say, please come in. And I was doing my own things. I would make movies and Super 8 movies, and just how can I be funny? What can I do? So it was always experimenting, drawing comic books, all that kind of stuff.
And, this is probably not a conversation for tonight, but sometime I'd love to actually converse with you about where the preparation of comedy and a routine intersects with songwriting in that you're looking for particular words, the order of those words, the cadence, the sound, the pauses. It's to me, there's got to be a lot of parallels between what we do and musicians in terms of how to pay attention to the mechanics of the thing.
It is definitely the craft. If you do not have the craft down, if you can't hear the music, you won't be able to do a song or a comedy routine because there's a rhythm to it. And the rhythm, some comics, and at the show last night, there were some people who were just starting. And I had some friends come and they go, you're just bam, 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 making us laugh. And other people, I was like, here's a joke, and we pause. Here's a joke, and we pause. It's just the rhythm. It's like, you got to keep it coming. You got to keep it coming because you want laughter to build. You want it can't just go out there and just wait and then die. You have to just keep this momentum going. And it is definitely a rhythm musical thing when you do comedy. It really is.
And I know with songwriting, one of the things that I don't get to mentor as much as I wish I could, but if I do have anyone who cares, a younger songwriter a little bit further back on the timeline than me, what I tell them is you don't want to write songs in such a way to where you take away the joy of discovery and pleasure from the listener. In other words, you don't want to reach up and cut up the food on their plate. You have to craft the lyric in such a way to where they get to make of it what they will. You're not supposed to sing at them. You're supposed to sing for them.
What a great lesson for you to teach other people. That's wonderful. And I would. There are parallels between. It's funny. Obviously, we've never talked about this before, but there really are parallels with comedy. And that some comics say, "Well, I put my cookies on the lower shelf. Nobody has to work." But I tell comics, "No, don't fill in all the blanks. The audience is ahead of you. They know where you're going. So just make the innuendo. Just start turning the corner, and they'll get it. They'll fill in the blank, and then you go to the next joke. And then that's when it's really fun. It's like, okay, we're all on the same page. You know where I'm going."
Yeah. Well, you probably have had experience with this one, and my best friend is Dan Ruppel, who you know very well.
I do, yeah.
And one of the challenges, I'm sure, of being a friendship with me is that there's something about being around somebody who's funny that makes you want to be funny too. And that doesn't always happen with the same degree of success that you wish it was.
Actually,
with me,
Dan told me to come here today and tell you you're not as funny as he is. So I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but Dan said, please. And for those of you who don't know Dan Ruppel, he was in Isaac Air Freight, which is the precursor to all Christian comedy. And so he is just the grandfather of it all, and a grandfather really grandchildren. But
that's right. He's got a bunch of them.
But you guys have been friends for so long, and it's just always great to see the pictures of you two. We met here because you went to high school together, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, I've known Dan since. Well, there's some dispute about how long it's been, but at least for about 55 years at least.
That's great. That's wonderful.
And so it's pretty great. Well, I'm going to pivot back to check a few comments here and maybe sing a little bit more. We'll resume our conversation with Robert in just a minute. This is so cool. I love this. Alrighty. Sorry, and I'm a little behind here.
I requested Inagata Davida. I don't know if that's there or not, but
the full drum solo.
Yeah.
Hey, Eddie Tawakanero, how you doing, buddy? Let's see. But you're in. You're in. Thank you. Very good. Hey, Tom and Julie Brennan from upstate New York, where it's probably, seasonably warm, right? No, it's cold as all get out in upstate New York right now. Oh yeah, we have somebody on here, a wonderful woman whose moniker online is Katie Duck. There's a whole reason why that is, but she always posts the best. She just posted the lyrics to "Sympathy for the Devil" on the comments. There's not that many Christian live streams that can boast an audience that's that cool and that astute. I need to boast about all these people because this is not happening, anywhere else. So cool. Pam Friesen, how you doing? In Brawley, I've been a while since I've been to that area. Okay, we have one person, and I'll start singing here in a minute. But we have one person that we always greet the same way. I don't know how it happened, but we yell every week, Rena! How you doing, honey? Everybody, and people write, Rena! It's all these inside jokes. All right. Hey, Jeannie Woodruff checking in from Houston. Say hi to Todd. How you doing, hon? Ellen McNamara-Sebold. This is, for those of you who may have tuned in a little bit late, joining me tonight is Robert G. Lee, and we'll resume a conversation with him after I sing a song here. But this is like totally a wonderful thing that we're doing at the last second here. Oh, you know, Rick, you're here, aren't you? I want to do this for you. We'll see. So this was a request that Rick had last week. Maybe I need to put up the Juke Bob Challenge graphic because that's how we roll around here. All right, this was a last week was requested at the passing of David Crosby, and I did Teach Your Children, which I think is a Nash tune, but he was obviously in on it. But somebody asked for this, and I think it was Rick Negrady, so I'll do the best I can. This is I just kind of worked this up before signing on. We'll go spin and glide. Got no place to hide, 'cause you don't need to. All along the lee shore, shells lie scattered in the sand, winking up like shining eyes at me. Here is one like sunrise. It's older than you know. It's still lying there where some careless wave forgot it long ago. I awoke this morning, I dove beneath my floating home, down below her graceful side in the turning tide, to watch the sea fish roll. There I heard a story. There's another island's day, or run away from here. Another island's run a day from here, empty and free. Sunset smells of dinner. Women are calling at me to end my tales, but perhaps I'll see you in the next quiet place. I furl my sails. Okay, so C+, maybe, but on command, and that's part of the jukebox from.
Now, I did not know that song. I know that he loves sailing, and he had wooden ships, and he to the end of his days, he was always trying to raise money to keep his big. He had one of those big 3-mast boats, and he loved it. But Unfurl My Sails, it just sounds just like him. But
he eventually had to sell that, unfortunately. And there's a place online where you can go look at all the photos and everything. I know that really broke his heart because he needed to do. It was the oh, for goodness sakes, I forget the name of the boat now, and someone's going to be able to fill that in. It's right on the top of my brain and I can't remember it. Now, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about that I think I know about you is that you have a lot of extensive experience doing behind the scenes TV stuff, right?
Yeah, it's called being a warm-up comic. And for sitcoms, bring in a guy to not just get the audience laughing, but to keep them laughing for the duration of the show. And for a sitcom, that takes 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to film because they have costume changes the next day. They have to rewrite a scene if it doesn't work. And so they need a guy in the stand to keep it going. So, yeah, I started off on Golden Girls, Designing Women, did the last episode of Cheers, did the pilot of Frasier, that was just one of the biggest thrills of my life. It was so good. Everybody Loves Raymond, Will and Grace, just a lot of different shows. Did Old Christine, did Becker. So, but with COVID, it all went away because they couldn't shoot with an audience. But I always tell everybody, God knew before I did that my career there was going to end. And so now all these things are opening up on the road, and I'm just going back out and diving back into stand-up comedy. And all my other friends at this stage are burned out. They've been traveling too much. And me, it's like, I've been in Hollywood. This is great. I don't mind this at all. So it's like, get up at 3. I don't care. I'm going home to see my wife. We're going to go to a gig tomorrow night. We'll go down to Orange County and go out to eat. So I'm having the time of my life right now. It's a lot of fun. Going on cruises. A lot of different opportunities are opening up. But yeah, I did the TV warm-up. It was the best experience on how to just ad lib, as you can tell. I just keep talking. I won't stop.
No. That's and I'm assuming they have everything planned to the minute, but you can't maintain that type of tightness. So a monkey wrench gets thrown into a scene or a problem or something, and you have to get up and go.
Oh, and sometimes they'll say, Bob, it's going to be a half hour. Well, okay, thank you very much, because it could be a huge, like on Halloween costumes, they have to have ornate makeup and they have to do all these things. And other times somebody gets sick or we have to rewrite this. And so you just keep going.
So do you wind up in the audience at a certain point doing the John Davidson, so when were you married? And how long, what's your favorite song? And
it definitely is a lot of that. We know a lot about the audience. By the time we're done, everybody knows a lot about each other. But you are the host of a party. And so I always say, bring out a different trick every new act when they do bring it. So sometimes we play the dating game. Other times we'll have a dancing game. Other times we'll bring up people from foreign lands down. It's like, just do something different. Do something. Just keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. So it ends up being a lot of fun because then you get this almost combat mentality. After 5 hours, the audience go, "We're going to stick it out. We're not going to leave." And so you just have.
Well, it's back when I was a young man, I did a bar gig. And it was in the bar of a restaurant. It wasn't quite chicken wire and protective chicken wire and stuff like that, but it was in the restaurant. And it was back before they banned smoking in California. I was quite a young guy. But after you do 4 sets under those conditions, then when someone comes to you and says, "Can you do a 20-minute set?" It's like, yeah. Because after you've put in those long hours and done that long stuff, everything else, it's like being in the on-deck circle with 10 bats, and then you walk out to go to bat with 1.
It's combat pay. You learn how to handle an audience after you do an 8-hour stint on a sitcom. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. And it sounds like from the resume of shows that you developed quite a reputation and people knew they could rely on you and do the work. And that's really cool. I love that. Let's see. Hang on just a second. Oh, Vash Matrix on YouTube. I loved Becker. That was me as a teen. We get some great comments here with all this stuff.
And just so you know, everybody knows, Ted Danson is the nicest guy on the planet. I'm telling you, there are certain stars that really there's some problems.
Yeah,
but there's some great. And I always say that Ted Danson and Julie Louis-Dreyfus I did Old Christine with her. Just absolutely, they know that they're the luckiest people, most, and they're grateful for what they get to do. And other stars really push for the all the accoutrement, and they want to have star status and don't look at me and don't wear white on the day of the show. But Ted Danson on Becker was just fabulous. He would play with me. We had so much fun. He's a great guy.
I've heard stories, none of which I'll repeat, but heard stories in basic generalities where you literally are not supposed to make eye contact with the talent not supposed to approach them and don't speak unless spoken to. And there's this whole culture of you're a hired hand and by golly, we're not going to let you forget it.
Oh yeah. That's some producer. I always tell people in Hollywood, you become what you always were. And so if you were a nice guy and you get a break, you pretty much stay a nice guy. It's like, wow, what a great thing. But if you were a jerk and you were hiding it until you became famous enough that you didn't have to pretend anymore, oh, those are the people you want to avoid at all costs.
Yeah. Oh, my. All right. Let me... Oh, you know what? I got a request from last week. Let me dial that up here.
And I got it, Rita.
No, it's not in a kind of defeat, Robert.
All right, just do side one of Thick as a Brick.
I'm trying to think of an analogous comedy bit that I can request, you know. Oh, man. Who's on first? Can you know who's on first? Yeah. Alone? All right. Last week, Katie Duck requested a tune from Nonfiction. And so I'll play that. It's a song called Waking Falling Dream. Outside this room and window, the world begins to cry. At least that's how the sirens make it seem. I was tucking in my baby for another winter's night, when suddenly I fell into a waking dream. I reach out my black and bony hand to soothe my starving son. His sunken eyes are burning through my skin. And now I am deep in the jungle, planting corn that will not grow. The guts of a volcano where my fields had been. Outside this room and window, my heart begins to cry. At least that's how these teardrops make it seem. I was tucking in my conscience for another winter's night, when suddenly I woke up from this falling dream. This waking falling dream.
That is so wonderful. And those, you don't know it out there, but one of the reasons I was called in today is to let you know that there's a new program that we're developing right now, and that is Bob Bennett Live to You. Now, if you listen to his voice and the guitar, you just see how soothing it is, how wonderful. And some people go to therapists, some people take self-medication, but Bob will actually hire himself out and either go to your home live or through a Zoom call, and he will follow you around with whatever songs you like for a good 2-3 hours in your living room, and you just become so mellow, you won't have a care in the world. And that is a new thing we're doing. He can do birthday greetings if you'd like that instead, and those are very quick. But the best thing is to have Bob Bennett in your corner, literally in your corner. That's what we're calling it, Bob Bennett in your corner. And he will come to your house, and yes, you have to pay for the flight and everything else, but still, if you want to just do a Zoom call, he'll do that. But the soft melodic tones, the dulcet tones of Bob Bennett in your corner. Call today. We have special prices.
Operators are standing by, accepted by no insurance. Okay. Thank you, Bob. You know, there's a whole business I hadn't thought about.
I'm here to help.
Very good. Let me see. Let me catch up with a couple of the comments here. Hey, Jay Wrinkle. How you doing, my friend? Oh, Jay, you always ask, and you're always so faithful about this, and I haven't seen your name crop up lately. I don't take roll here, but I haven't seen your name lately. Jay's an old pal of mine, and he always asks me, when are you recording a new album? And I always have to kind of hang my head and go, gee, I don't know. And very Eeyore-like. And I'm happy to report, for those who may not have heard me jabber on about it a week ago, I have plans to record again in July and August. So I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm actually, that brings me to, I'm interrupting myself yet again, as I do with other people. I will not be live streaming next week. Now, normally, I don't take this lightly. Normally, I'm, sick or there's some untoward thing or something, and then I don't miss. I've only missed 3 in almost 3 years of doing this. But next week, I'm headed for a songwriting retreat in Wimberley, right outside Austin. And the retreat lasts the entire weekend, and my whole notion in going there is not only to reconnect with my friends Billy and Dodie Crockett, but I'm going to be attending a concert by Beth Nielsen Chapman, and she's going to be leading a songwriting retreat. And the idea is not only to have all this fun, which it's going to be intensely fun, but also to kind of prime my creativity to bring on home the 3 or 4 more songs that I probably need to write to make a full record. So I hope that you'll literally excuse me and keep that weekend in prayer that I get some inspiration and creativity and sort of get built back up in the creative department. And I promise, if I write some good songs out of it, I'll try to bring them here first and give you guys a first listen to them. So that'll be next week. You'll be able to do something else at 5 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday. Mr. Portillo has brought up one song which I'd like to play for you. Let's see. Okay, right, I have to remind myself. Actually, I think it's here. This is a tune that I co-wrote with Philip Sandifer. And not to make it a me festival, but the fun thing about this song is, to make a long story utterly short, Bruce Carroll and I were in a Nashville office building sitting in front of both Glenn Campbell and Bill Gaither. And Bill Gaither was helping Glenn Campbell to do A&R for a gospel album that he was going to record. And I played this song, and Glenn Campbell recorded it. So we have this small tangential connection. I met him a couple times after that, and he was very, very kind to me. And so Glenn Campbell did a version of this tune. It's called Unto the Least of These by request. It's cold and windy on these streets tonight. Lines are forming now. Meals to be eaten, beds to find. Hearts are warming now. Love is given and love is received. A candle in the darkness, because someone has believed what Jesus said. Unto the least of these, what you do for them, you also do for me. You must give of what you have to become what you must be. You must give your love unto the least of these. It's warm inside the safe suburban home, but souls are dying now. The sound of words unspoken drowning out the sounds of crying now. Love withheld is a love that disappears. They do not care because they cannot hear what Jesus said. Unto the least of these, what you do for them, you also do for me. You must give of what you have to become what you must be. You must give your love unto the least of these. Hungry mouths to feed, thirsty souls in need, the naked clothed again, the sick in their distress, the prisoners of loneliness, the strangers welcomed in. Jesus said, unto the least of these, what you do for them, you must also do for me. You must give of what you have to become what you must be. You must give your love unto the least of these. You must give your love unto the least of these.
So very good. And those of you in the audience, again, may not know he wrote a couple other songs for Glenn Campbell. I think Wichita Laundryman was one that wasn't quite the hit we thought it was going to be. And then like a Rhinestone Insurance Adjuster, that was we thought that was going to be the hit. But he changed the lyrics and Bob Bennett got cut out. And that was the sad part of the whole history with Glenn Campbell. Started off a great guy and then just turned on him and took songs and rewrote them. And obviously they became hits. And Bob wrote the melody, everything, but just that one word would have been a hit.
Doggone it all. It's, it's a tough business out there. Oh, man. Speaking of Wichita linemen, Jimmy Webb, one of my favorite writers, and the place that I'm going for this retreat, I flew back there a few years ago with the Message Fairy, a.k.a. Elena, a.k.a. my lovely bride, and Jimmy Webb was playing at the Blue Rock Artist Ranch and Studio out there. And so I actually got a chance to hang with him and talk to him, and he autographed a CD and stuff. I mean, he's just such a consummate songwriter, and he had success so early that he actually knew like the Sammy Kahns of the world and all the classic songwriters of the '60s and stuff, because they were still around and writing, and he was like the young upstart kid, and so he got to hang out with all these guys. And anyway, very fun thing in songwriting terms. Tom Clark says, shame on Glenn. Yeah, we're kidding around here, but very good. Well, you know what? This would be an opportune time for me to do as I always like to do, and that is to let you know a little bit of what I know about what's happening on the Upper Room platform. And so remember that in addition to these proceedings, there is also What's on My Mind with Victoria Robinson. Victoria is a wonderful host and is especially keyed into and knows about pro-life issues, but talks about a variety of things with a variety of guests. She's working on some new shows that are in editing mode right now. One of the things that you'll be coming up in a future episode is talking with Dr. Lee Bartlett about COVID vaccines. Now, if you know your upper room history, Real Talk with Ron Strand did a couple interviews with Dr. Lee Bartlett, some of which were suppressed because back then it was that classic case of you can't handle the truth. And so they had some hassle with that. And of course, all these guys wound up being right. And so those were actually compelling interviews to find with Ron Strand and Lee Bartlett. But this is a newer, updated conversation with Victoria Robinson. And also, I got wind of a description. I'm not totally specific on it, but there was a girl who was absolutely in line, and mom was going to go through the abortion procedure, wound up being talked out of it, and then was adopted. And it's a beautiful story of what happens when your pro-life values are not just talked about, but acted upon. And it sounds like a wonderful story to tell. And What's on My Mind with Victoria Robinson is the perfect place to hear those kinds of stories and others. Well, speaking of the flagship program of the Upper Room Presents, Real Talk with Ron Strand, the latest thing that's up is that the former GM of the Dodgers baseball team, Kevin Malone, there is part one of a conversation that Ron had with him. Part two is on the way. They're also editing several shows that are coming, so be on the lookout for that. Let me also remind you that if you want to keep up with the adventures of the Upper Room, whether they're here in the studio, whether we're live streaming, doing live events, doing pre-recorded videos on the YouTube channel and Facebook and soon on Instagram and other places, simply contact the Upper Room Presents, ask to be added to the email list, and that's all there is. You'll get a not too often, but just often enough, you'll get an email to describe everything that's going on, and you can take part. So that is my update on Upper Room Presents. Okay, I just realized I want to ask you this question. Okay, so
Segue.
I know it was horrible. It was if I were driving a manual transmission, I'd have ground the gears big time. Aside from Cosby, who were some of your early influences in terms of when you realized, guys that you listen to go, these are guys that I pay attention to what they do. I have my list of desert island musicians that I'd like to host a dinner party with or something.
Oh, right.
Who would those people be for you?
Well, all right, so there's two different ways to go with this question. First off, influences. So it was Bill Cosby, and then George Carlin when I was in junior high. 7 dirty words you can't say on television, and obviously not fit for the upper room crowd. But that when you're a junior high kid, it's like, wow, it's radical. I was too shy to ask anybody out, so I went to the movies by myself, and there was an old movie theater that showed all the old silent movies. So I fell in love with Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and I just became a student of all those films. And I studied comedy with all the masters. And then it was the Marx Brothers. When I got in college, it was Monty Python, and I just fell in love with their absurdist comedy. And so if you take all that and put it in a big pot, you kind of come up with this impish style that I have come up with. But today, there's so many good comedians out there, and so many horrific ones out there. So who would I like to have sitting around a table? That's a really good question. I'm going to have to ponder that one. Obviously, Bob Bennett in my corner. I've already got several days lined up for that, but I'll have to think on that. I was going to ask you, I had a question just went out of my head. That's no good. That's not good for an interviewer, not good for a guest. All right, it'll come back to mind, I'm sure. It was a really good question. And then I got so involved in your answer, I forgot the question. Okay, but I'll say Jack Benny, Charlie Chaplin. I mean, not Bob Hope as much, because I didn't admire him. But the really, really greats. And just to see Charlie Chaplin, how he could construct a joke was just stunning. And just all and Groucho Marx, all these guys just coming through vaudeville and everything else. Those are the people. I'm not interested in the comedians today, but to have that history lesson of those greats would have been so. And Dick Van Dyke, Carl Reiner, maybe Mel Brooks.
No, when we talk about this sort of stuff, when I talk about, I feel guilty to say this, but you don't lie to your guests. I'll go into a restaurant, and 9 times out of 10, I will hate whatever music they're playing in the restaurant. I found a couple of restaurants where old people congregate, and they actually play pretty cool music, but in the rest of the time, I just feel like a man I feel like my dad is like, this doesn't sound like music to me. Play The Who, for goodness sakes. Now that's music, kids.
Bingo. There. I'm with you.
But, so when it comes to that sort of thing, what,
I'll cut to the chase. I am hypercritical of every comedian who cheats. When I say cheat, they go for the cheap laugh. They don't know how to construct a joke. They just went for the shock value. It's like, oh, and so when you see young comedians doing that, it hurts. It hurts because you don't know the craft. Learn the craft. Learn how to build a joke. Learn how to do a callback. There's construction pieces for comedy that I admire. There's some great people. Jim Gaffigan and his wife Jean write some really good 100% clean, funny material. And there are other people that use shock value and cheat. So you were asked, do you love all music? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Do I love all comedy? No, I don't, because I can see the seams. I can see how they constructed it. And there are people that I admire, and people that's like, man, how you make a living? I don't know how you still do it, because you're cheating.
To make an analogous to music, if you're a practitioner of music, you can tell when when they're going for the cheap riff and the things. There's technique there,
Right.
but it's not. There's prowess, but it's not musical. So I got a feeling that that's the same thing in comedy. There's talent there, but it's being squandered in a wrong direction. Being squandered in an odd non-musical direction, whatever the comedy analog is for that.
We call them hacks.
Okay.
The hack is the guy that just does, okay, hey, I was on the airline, and have you been to McDonald's, and hey, this commercial, and boy, dogs and cats are different, aren't they? It's like, oh boy, here we go. So there's nothing new. They haven't found a new twist on it, a new angle, and those are hacks. And so you smell the material, and it's lifted from 20 different people. And magicians do it all the time. Ventriloquists do it. They don't write new original material. They just watch other people steal it and use it as their own. And there's a commandment against that, actually. So that drives me crazy.
Yeah, boy, you would think. I remember reading somewhere that. Sort of like in the annals of comedy back in the day, like if you got on Carson, that was like getting the World Series or something. You won the World Series. But also that once comedy got the Comedy Channel and got all the broadcasts and your HBO specials and stuff, then your material had a shorter shelf life because everybody was exposed to it. So you can't do it nationwide and have everybody tuned in and have that success on the one end, and then go out and do the same 20 minutes at the Laugh Stop or whatever somewhere. You have to keep it.
You've always got to be
keep
writing,
going, right?
Keep writing new stuff. Always write new stuff. And those that don't write new stuff will eventually, they're like a shark. They got to keep swimming or they'll die. So those acts do eventually wither because people have them back the next year and they go, oh, you're doing the exact same thing you did last time. So I'm always telling, it's called ammunition. You've got a bevy of songs you can do. I say you've got to have that ammunition in your back pocket because this audience may have heard that, or they don't want to go that place. So you've got to switch gears and go somewhere else. So yeah, people say, I've got a half hour. Well, that tells me, yeah, you really got 10. So you need to have hours of material to have a really, really good 30-minute, 45-minute set.
Yeah. I remember the question I was going to ask you. Have you ever done sketch comedy with a troupe or improv or anything like that in terms of that? And do you like that sort of thing when you get the chance to do it?
I have done it. I took all the classes at the Groundlings, and it's really one of those decisions you have to make. Am I a stand-up or am I an improv guy? Am I going to do sketch comedy or am I going to do my own stand-up? And I have friends who are wonderful at improv and sketch comedy, and I prefer the stand-up. I've done acting. I can do it. And I like directing it. But as far as the art form, I just love getting up in front of a crowd and riffing with them. And to do a sketch sometimes just feels very artificial because it's stand-up. You can go off the subject matter and really interact with the audience, and you can't do that in a sketch comedy. You've always got to stick to the lines. You got to so it's just not as much fun. I liked it, but I just knew this. I don't think this is where my gifts lie.
And then back in the day, some of the people you mentioned, Bob Hope, Jack Benny, they had stables of writers
Oh,
that worked with them, and that was kind of analogous to the music business. For the longest time, I mean, now they had great writers. If you were singing Gershwin or Johnny Mercer or something, it's like, okay, that's fine. And then eventually musicians started writing their own material. The Beatles weren't the first to do it, but that's the big example from our era. So do most comedians now write their own stuff, or are there still some old school guys who have a stable of writers?
It's a yes and. Most people write their own material, but when you get big enough, then the record company, it's like, okay, you've gone viral. Okay, you've got a special out. We need to have another one. And so then they get desperate and they go out and they find other writers. And the problem there is you start diluting your brand because you get people that don't know who you are exactly. And it's not really your voice, but it's a funny bit. And there's a ventriloquist that did that, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And he lost who he really was, because it takes years to develop new material. But the machine wants new stuff today.
Yeah. I call that for lack of a better example, I call it the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom syndrome. In other words, you take Raiders of the Lost Ark and you do this and everybody loves it, and then when you go to make the sequel, you throw all the bells and whistles and you do all this stuff, but what made the thing great and the personality of the thing is kind of way diluted and way lost.
And they found it again on number 3.
Absolutely.
But number 2, there was actually, I went to film school when Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote it, he says they were on the beach. He was on the beach with Lucas and Spielberg. Obviously, this is far afield, but it's just a fun story. And they were talking about it, and they said, we said, was there something that you did not put in Indiana Jones? He goes, all right, I'll tell you. And he described the opening of the Temple of Doom, where they jumped out of the plane on a raft and they went down a mountain, and everybody groaned. He goes, yeah, we thought that was just crazy. We can't do that. And that opened the next film because they were so desperate, and the studio said, here's a pile of money, do it. And that's what they had. So yes, we won't call that what it is, but we'll just say that's hack as well. So, it'll be nice.
Well, it's easy to lose your vision to try to. I mean, you have to be aware that what you're doing is you're making a thing. Product is not the word we want to use, but you're making something that has some type of consumable value or something that people are going to want to have. But if the tail starts wagging the dog and you start creating something for that, I mean, you can only get away for that so long, you know.
And that's why I'm so fortunate that I'm not famous. I can do whatever I want. Nobody tells me that I can't, because I can take as long as I want to make my next album, and so can you. So anonymity has its benefits. You know,
even in the Christian music genre, I know friends of mine, recording artists, that record companies rejected entire albums, told them they couldn't do different songs.
Oh boy.
You know, all kinds of horrible war stories.
Sure.
And because I was always just me, and I wasn't going to be anybody's meal ticket. I wasn't going to have a million selling album and retire. I could get away. I never had anybody say to me, "You can't do that." That's a miracle.
It is.
It's unbelievable. So, oh man, we're talking with Robert G. Lee. In case you're tuning in, I don't have chyrons and graphics or anything, but that's who is with us. And we're having so much fun. I hope you're having as much fun as we are. I hope it's transferable. Let me sing a little song here. We're at the 6 o'clock hour, or top of the hour, as we used to say on the Today Show. I know what. I'll do this. This is not ha-ha funny, but I kind of want to sing this for Robert. Let me put this up here. I wrote this song with a guy named Don Henry, who is a Nashville songwriter. And we were talking, and I don't know how it is, if you've ever had an analogous thing to this, but in songwriting world sometimes, you can actually meet up with a person that you've never met before, and you'll have a writing appointment, especially in Nashville, big songwriting town. So you'll walk into a room and shake hands and pull out your notebooks and you'll start writing. So I was introduced to Don Henry, and wonderful country songwriters, tons of covers, and this was like 1999. And we got to talking, and we had a friend in common, and this guy had gotten married kind of late in life, and it's a guy that I also knew. And Don said, now that he's married, he's not himself. And he's like, no, he said he's, I messed up my own story. He said he's like a totally different guy. And I said, well, when a guy goes from being single to being married, a totally different guy is kind of what's called for. He goes, no, he's like he's not himself whenever she's around. He's not himself whenever she's around. I said, let's write that song. We're going to write a song called Whenever She's Around. And I said, well, the two guys, the two protagonists of the song have to have been friends since they were kids.
Yeah.
That's what the back, even if it doesn't make it in the song, that's what the backstory needs to be. So I threw out these two lines and we wrote this song instead. I killed my best friend in the yard today. He had it coming, war is hell. I said, I gotcha, and he said, no way. Then we heard my mama yell. I hate tuna, so he ate tuna. I'm more a peanut butter man. Soda slurping, the art of burping, things the girls don't understand. My baby sister, she's an alien, comes from Uranus, I presume. We held her off with the remote control. Then we got bored and watched cartoons. I like Porky Pig, he called me a dorky pig, and so we wrestled on the floor until the voice of doom called from the laundry room, you boys go take that stuff outdoors. We are the kings of everything, always survey everyone we meet. We are the kings of Summer Street. Nobody knows that we are famous spies. Big Brother is our enemy. He's at a summer camp for Russian guys, so we snuck up to his room to see his secret girly files. They were wearing only smiles. Saving democracy is swell. And if he ever finds out what our mission was all about, who's he gonna tell? We are the kings of everything, always survey everyone we meet, just him and me. As you can see, we are the kings of Summer Street. We are the kings of Summer Street.
Oh my goodness, do I love that song. That is so absolutely wonderful. And that is a perfect example of specificity and a universalism. It covers everybody in the world, but yet it's so specific to your childhood, and we all totally relate to it. And that's why when people do ask about Bill Cosby, before obviously he fell off the wagon and just showed himself to be a horrible person, he was able to do that with his comedy. Here was a black guy in Philadelphia, and I'm a white kid in Indiana, and I'm relating to everything he's saying. And that song right there is the perfect example of it. Absolutely wonderful. Next time I see you live, I want that song. You've got to do that. You've got to do that for an audience.
Well, flattery will get you everywhere, young Robert. You're actually right, though, and I tell songwriters this. I said, when you're telling a story, it's counterintuitive, but the more specific you can be, the more universal the application. Because if I want to write a song about brushing my teeth, and I say I use a manual toothbrush and I brush with Crest, well, you can't help but say, well, I got a really good electric one, and I use Tom's natural toothpaste. You almost can't help bouncing the ball against the wall with your own story. So that's exactly right. I love the fact that you get that. I thought I really liked you. Now
I'm
over the moon now.
I'm pushing Dan Ruppel off to the side, baby.
Man, he is not a paid spokesperson, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'll play you the other one. When I got home from Nashville, I was alone, and the first song wasn't even done yet. But I thought, I'm not done with these two guys yet. So. Found my best friend in the yard today. Hedge clippers and a heart attack. I dropped the telephone and I said no way. But then I caught the first plane back. Everything was smaller than I remember. The houses and the yards all pushed up together. All up and down our old street I could see the ruined castles of our royalty. Escaping prisoners, we were college bound. They'll never bring us back alive. Past the city limits without slowing down. He'd navigate and I would drive. All night to Vegas, stayed out late, got up early. In a week we were rich, dating showgirls named Shirley. Homesick and sick of home, it made no sense, 'cause there didn't seem to be much difference. You think you leave a place, but it never really goes away. It haunts you in the night and wraps around your DNA. Just when you think you won't get caught, you find it's you that can't let go of everything that you've been taught. There's no forgetting what you think you know. Every few years he'd make another kid with his first and final wife. I tried a couple of times, but I never did manage to build that kind of life. He worked in aerospace till the day he retired. I worked at every kind of job till the day I got fired, exchanging Christmas cards and birthday calls. He climbed the ladder while I climbed the walls. You think you get away so clean till the moment that you find memories stick like bubble gum under your shoe and in your mind. You can walk the whole world round your heart, but you can never find the way to where the ending meets the start. I'll never live to see a sadder day. No way. Oh, there's just no way. It was so real, I had a dream. We were both dressed as Superman on Halloween. He had a Snickers bar, he took a bite. He did not know that it was kryptonite. He said, I gotta go now, trick or treat. Long live the King of Summer Street. Long live the King of Summer Street. We were the kings of everything. Oh, we'd survey everyone we'd meet, just him and me. We were the kings of Summer Street. We were the kings of Summer Street. We were the kings.
And I will say, perfect. Now, here's what I'm going to suggest. That's the third song of a trilogy. Your middle song is the line you brought up. He's never the same when she's around. And the middle song is about how you lost your friend to a girl, and all the games you played, all the things you did. He wouldn't burp, he wouldn't fart, all the things, but he could never be himself when she was around. And that's the first song is boy gets girl, basically, and then boy loses girl, and then the last song is where you lose them all together. And that would be a fantastic trilogy.
Robert, I mean, if that happens, there's a big steak dinner in your future.
But you got to write songs for your next album. That would be perfect.
For years, I've threatened to write a cycle of songs about these guys. I wanted to write an entire album of songs about these two guys.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. I don't know why. I just haven't been able to make myself do it. But I've been listening to I listened to a couple recently, Ray Bradbury interviews. And he talks a lot about imagination and don't let the intellect strangle the feeling and all that stuff. So I think that's such a good idea, though. It's a good idea to go back and pick up what was a good idea and go ahead and do it.
And do it on these two guys. It's perfect because every guy understands what it's like when you lose your best friend because he got a girl and you're left out in the cold.
And I know that because, and it was a beautiful thing, but I mean, Dan and I were roommates when he met and fell in love and got married to Peggy.
Oh, that Peggy. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore.
You know,
you can't compete against that.
So it was, of course, I sang at the wedding and I'm just as happy as I can be, but it was like, my buddy.
Yeah.
I'm in this house all by it's just everything changed. It was like, he wanted to be with her.
I'm telling you. That's your song. I can see it. I can see it right now. All three songs. Man. It's going to be perfect.
And you know what? There was somebody a few years ago did a movie called The Kings of Summer.
Yeah. Oh, it was what a fun
And I never saw it. And I thought, oh, that's my title. But there's such a short attention span in this culture. If I did The Kings of Summer Street, I'd probably be just fine.
Yeah.
That's the good news about that. Folks, it is 6:15 here in the People's Republic of California. And what that means is officially we have about 15 minutes left. This is where time where I mentioned that we always end each live stream with a time of prayer. And so if you would feel comfortable in doing so, if you could share any prayer requests or needs or things that are on your mind in that direction. We don't enumerate those in the comments, but people will take note of them. And also, if you have anything to say in terms of blessings and good things that are going or something you want to share with us, we'd love to hear whatever that may be. You can trust us. This is a good group of people. So let us know what you're thinking and what you'd like prayer for. I'm going to play another song, and then we will have a little gathering of prayer. We will have a little bit more with Robert G. Lee, and then we'll have our closing song. So let me see. I think I'd like to do that. I've been having so much fun, by the way. If I've missed your request tonight, please pardon me. I have not been as on top of the comments because I've been having so much fun. But I'll take note of them and try to do makeups in a couple of weeks. So I was recording, I think it was 1996 or so. I was at Michael Card's studio. Back then it was in Franklin, Moland Studio. And I was sitting at a table behind the recording console, and Phil Nash and Ronnie Brookshire, the guys who co-produced Small Graces, were prepping for the day. And I had my old, this is all pre-computer, personal digital assistant, all that stuff. So I brought like a briefcase full of legal pads and lyric fragments and things. So while they're prepping, I'm thinking maybe I can write another song. And I came across the beginning part of this lyric and went back home after the session, wrote the song, and we recorded it the next day. So this song came very fast. Wait a minute. There we go. I build an altar in the field, so I'll remember back to this time when it's so real that I am loved and not alone. And if I pass by here again, I'll be able to see my life was scattered like these stones till the Lord began to gather me. I built an altar in the field so I'll remember. I build an altar in this field in honor, in memory of the many graces I've been shown and the ones I've yet to see. And so I leave this symbol fashioned by my hand, the marker of a love that I will never understand. I leave an altar in the field. And when I'm lost inside my sorrow, overtaken by my fear, when I am wandering in this wilderness, perhaps the Lord will lead me here to this altar in the field where I'll remember. Oh, I will remember.
And for you in the studio audience, that's called an Ebenezer. An Ebenezer is where you raise an altar. And so, and that's, I think that's where A Christmas Carol, he got it because Ebenezer had to remember all the good things he had in his life. He'd forgotten them up to that point. So I think that's where he got the name. But I was always singing it in church going, what is an Ebenezer? And I had to look it up. It's like,
what's the hymn that has that where people, and they change it, I forget what it is. The Ebenezer is actually mentioned, and then people...
Yeah, here I raise my Ebenezer. My gosh.
I'm spacing right now.
Yeah. Like Bob Cratchit, like a fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander. What is that? Dun, 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 dun,
And it's going to drive me. And everybody is watching this is screaming at their device, going, "It's this! It's this!"
Good. That'll be our prayer request. Better memories.
Come thou fount. Thank you. There is no prize, but I do mention Ellen McNamara-Sebold, who came up with "Come Thou Fount." That is correct. You know, back when Dan and I were hosting a radio show at KBRT back in the late '80s, we would either when we would hold stupid little contests, we would either send away books. We always got books sent in because we were talk show hosts. But we were such a cheap show. We did photocopies of our faces pressed against the glass, and then we autographed them and mailed them out. So I'm trying to come up with some kind of a prize situation here that I can do for when these good things happen. But
I do think it's a good segment for the show. This is the "What Song Am I Thinking Of" segment.
That's right. If I had a brain, what would it be doing? Oh, my goodness. Hang on just 1 second. I got to call this up. For those of you who are new to this, we hope you'll join us for a moment of prayer. If not, hang on. We'll have another song to come. I pray a little bit, and I'm very fond of the 1928 Book of Common Prayer. I think it is some of the most sublime use of the English language possible. So often each week I quote a prayer or two from that. And so let's pray. Father, thank you so much for this time to gather together. I thank you for these lovely people who are commenting and also listening without commenting. And I thank you for this group of people to sing for. And I thank you that these songs mean something because they hear them. And ask that your Holy Spirit would make them a fit soundtrack to their times. Father, we pray, as we've done every week, for the consequences of the pandemic and all the different health challenges that are still facing the world, whether it's controversies about disease or vaccines or whatever the case may be. Lord, give us charity and understanding and forbearance with one another. Help us to be kind and supportive of people where we can. Lord, we pray especially for all those in the medical field, doctors and nurses, admins, those who work in hospitals, doctors' offices, clinics, those who bring healthcare into the home and in other places. We ask that you would be with them in their work. Lord, we ask for everyone who puts on a uniform to do their job. We're specifically thinking of police and fire department, EMT, all the branches of the service, Lord, whether they are standing watches or working shifts. We do ask that you would bring them home safe and keep their families safe as they do their work. This is a prayer for guidance. That's one of my favorites. O God, by whom the meek are guided in judgment, and light riseth up in the darkness for the godly, grant us in all our troubles and uncertainties the grace to ask what thou wouldst have us to do, that the spirit of wisdom may save us from all false choices, and that in thy light we may see light, and in thy straight path may not stumble, through Jesus Christ our Lord. O Lord, support us all the day long until the shadows lengthen and the evening comes, and the busy world is hushed and the fever of life is over and our work is done. And then in thy mercy grant us a safe lodging and a holy rest and a peace at the last. Amen. And now we pray together as we've been taught. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you for joining me. So, before we launch into the final song, and some thank yous after that, my special thanks to Robert G. Lee. This has been so much fun. I thank you. You're the first person I've done. I've had, people come and hang out. I'm turning the laptop around and I'm doing stuff, and I've had that before, and I've had a little bit of camaraderie. But this is the first time we've done this in the studio, and I'm just having the time of my life. So,
I had a wonderful time. I'll be here next week.
So-
Wait, you're not here next week.
well,
though,
you are welcome anytime. If you're down behind the orange curtain here doing something, you drop in, and there's a place for you. There's a place for you on the Upper Room Presents official guest couch, and so really appreciative. Just want to let people know if they want to check out what you're doing and where you're doing it. What's the best place to go?
The website is we all have that, so it's robertglee.com. So they can find that's got the Facebook and the Twitter and all the Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So they can bounce off from there.
Very good, thank you. And I assume you post your concert calendars and things like that. Appearances.
No, I keep it quiet. I want no one to see me. I'm the secret comedian.
That was one of those dumb non-question questions. Thank you. But yes, no. Of course he does.
Well, my Facebook page has.
What's wrong with you?
Where I'm going to be. So.
What's wrong with you, pal? He said to himself. All right. It is time for the official closing song. This song is called the Lorica. Lorica is the Latin word for shield. This is based on St. Patrick's breastplate, a longer text, which you may have run across in the hymnody. The words were adapted and the melody written by my friend Gail Salmond. And I started singing it about 2.5 years ago, and it quickly became the official closer. Even in concerts now, this is the last song I sing. I bind unto myself today the gift to call on the Trinity, the saving faith where I can say, come 3 in 1, oh 1 in 3, be above me, as high as the noonday sun, be below me, the rock I set my feet upon, be beside me, the wind on my left and right, be behind me, circle me with your truth and light, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. I bind unto myself today the love of angels and seraphim, the prayers and prophecies of saints, the words and deeds of a righteous man, be above me as high as the noonday sun, be below me, the rock I set my feet upon, be beside me, the wind on my left and right, be behind me, oh, circle me with your truth and light, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. God's ear to hear me, God's hand to guide me, God's might to uphold me, God's shield to hide me against all powers deceiving, against my own unbelieving, whether near or far. I bind unto myself today the hope to rise from the dust of earth, the songs of nature giving praise to Father Spirit, living word, be above me as high as the noonday sun, be below me, the rock I set my feet upon, be beside me, the wind on my left and right, be behind me, circle me with your truth and light, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da. I bind unto myself today the gift to call on the Trinity. Well, there you have it. Edition number 148, Upper Room number 23. My name is Bob Bennett. This has been Bob Bennett Weekly Live. Before I get out the digital doorway, again, my thanks to Robert G. Lee for coming tonight and making it so much fun.
Total pleasure. I just loved it. I just had so much fun.
And would like to give my thanks to Ron and Kathy Strand, the co-founders of the Upper Room Presents. There's a team behind the scenes, and although you don't see them, they make it so that I can do this. Marissa Personius, Tony Medeiros, Eric Hansen, Tom Michelon, and a crew of people who help us out. Also would like to thank the Message Fairy, aka my lovely bride, the lovely Mrs. Bennett, my wife Elena. And she sends her love and greetings, hopes to rejoin the live stream here in the not too distant future. But please know, you guys, that she always asks about you when I get home, prays for you, and loves you guys so much. So with that, remember next week, I'm going to take the weekend off because I'm going to be trying to retreat to get inspired to write more new songs for a new album. Finally, let me say, for those who have contributed, and you know who you are, to the digital tip jar, I really appreciate that. I have support from the Upper Room Presents, all of these things that happen in terms of studio and support, but I'm not a salaried guy, and that's not quite how this works yet. I don't have sponsors quite yet. Maybe that model will change, but for right now, it's the digital tip jar, and people have been so gracious and so nice every week to remember me. So if that's you, thank you for doing that in the past, and it's pretty easy and available and much appreciated. But that's not a big, super hard plea. Whatever your circumstances with that, I'm just happy to have you. So,
and don't forget, for your co-host, I have a digital tip basin. So just remember that.
That's exactly right. That's right. Go ask for that by name. Everybody, God bless you. As I am fond of saying at the end, so I say now, praises be to the healer, my life.